Hello everybody, and in this short talk I'm going to be looking at Italy online, how Italy presents itself, how Italy showcases itself online in relation to food, how content creators and influencers have made names for themselves regarding food, humour and, may I add, disgust too. Okay, before I begin, I need to take a step back and talk about polarization and humour controversies. Now, normally humour controversies, as pointed out by Koivovsky at the end of last year, Koivovsky et al., the end of last year, humour controversies regard somebody who has said something which may not always seem a benign violation and offend somebody else, and this normally occurs online, but in the past it used to occur in real life. Think of Berlusconi, who when he was introduced to Barack Obama, Berlusconi said, "Oh, you've got a nice tan." This caused a controversy. It exploded in the press. At the time we didn't have social media like today. It exploded in the press. People were offended, but Berlusconi defended himself by saying that he was only joking. So there are many controversies online, but a big controversy that concerns Italy regards food, and it regards what I've called food fundamentalists and food liberals, who create two polarized echo chambers. Fundamentalists say that Italian food is Italian food, i.e. you shouldn't put pineapple on pizza, i.e. you shouldn't have a cappuccino after 3 p.m. or 10 a.m. or whenever. You have to stick to traditional Italian rules. And I must say, one of the reasons why Italian cuisine is so great is probably because it hasn't diverged much from these rules. On the other hand, food liberals say, well, you can do what you like with food. Anybody can do whatever they like with food. It doesn't really matter. Food doesn't belong to Italy anymore, and therefore we may put pineapple on pizza. We may have cappuccino at midnight. It doesn't belong to Italy anymore. And so this kind of polarization is very different from the Obama example that I gave you before. But having said that, just before I move on, I want to say that Charlie Hebdo, following the earthquake in L'Aquila in 2015, what they did was they published a cartoon of a building resembling a lasagna, calling it Italian lasagna, in which from the buildings that had been fallen down had been knocked down by the earthquake, we could see people's limbs coming out emerging from the sheets of lasagna, and tomato sauce resembling blood. The Italians were quite put out about this. So you see, polarization, even when it regards food, can be quite serious and, of course, disgusting. Disgusting morally, because you're comparing people who died in an earthquake to a lasagna. Okay, so before I move online, I'm going to begin by going back to 2016 when Jamie Oliver, the famous chef, tweeted a post. We still had Twitter, it wasn't X at the time. He tweeted a post in which he makes a paella, and in the paella he adds chorizo, incensing hundreds of Spaniards who berated him online, on Twitter. And the following day after the tweet, The Guardian posted an article about this. And below the line, for a couple of hundred comments below the line, Spaniards were saying that chorizo doesn't go in pizza. Spanish fundamentalists, of course, and lots of Brits were saying, oh, no, you can do what you like with paella, it doesn't belong to you. And at one point, around 400 comments down in below the line, the Italians came in and said, I don't know what you're worried about. We're used to people playing about with our language, with our food. And the debate moves away from Spain and to Italy. And the Italians go in there hand and fist defending Italian food, traditional food. The fundamentalists go in straight in there. Okay, what's interesting about what the below the line is that there's a lot of humour there. It's very much tongue-in-cheek, and people talk about nonnas turning in their graves. They talk about the blasphemy of I don't know, putting pineapple on pizza or whatever. They talk about organised crime. Watch out, because we'll have you shot or something. And above all, linguistically, something which I found very interesting is that this, by any other name. I call it by any other name. In other words, this is not pizza, it's something else. So, in 2023, multinational US multinational Heinz decided that they would come up with carbonara in a tin. Obviously not satisfied with alphabeti spaghetti in a tin, they decided to come up with carbonara. And as you can imagine, that created a huge Twitter storm, again with fundamentalists versus liberals. A war which, polarization, which included a lot of humour. Interestingly, the BBC, the BBC News in the UK, when the newscaster came up with, presented the fact that Heinz had come up with this new product, commented, we can expect a huge debate online. Italians are not going to like this. And as predicted, we got the nonnas turning in their graves, references to the mafia, references to this is not carbonara, by any other name, this is something else. The usual kind of language that we're used to now when somebody dares in some way manipulate something which was originally Italian. Now, of course, carbonara happens to be one of those things which in Italy itself, some people use pancetta and not guanciale, which is what you're supposed to use, but you don't dare use pancetta in it, because Italians themselves are going to start arguing amongst themselves. But what happens in Anglo-Saxon cultures is that they dare to add cream. So the whole thing exploded on Twitter. My personal favorite tweet regarding the carbonara scandal, polarization, is when somebody posts a meme of Jesus Christ and below reading, Jesus has left this chat. So blasphemy. And talking of blasphemy, this brings me on to influencers, content creators who have used food. And the first two people I'm going to mention are the duo Lionfield, with over 9 million followers on TikTok alone. They're a comic duo who defend the fundamentalists, who basically defend the traditional way of presenting Italian food. They go out and they find somebody who's manipulated Italian food badly. And initially, when they came out in 2020, they would use crosses. They would play on blasphemy. They would use crosses, get thee behind thee, Satan, different size crosses depending on how bad the mistake or the manipulation had been. Okay, you can read a lot more about this in our food book, which I will talk about: food, humour, language and disgust. One important thing I want to say about influencers is that they all use English. Now, Lionfield, two guys in Lionfield, haven't got a particularly brilliant English. It's very marked. It's very Italian marked. And when somebody actually makes something that they like, that they don't make such a blasphemous mistake, they will say approved in this way. Approved. They don't say approved, they say approved. I'm sure they speak English perfectly well if they wish to, but they really do calc their Italianness, and again, in English. So we have Lionfield, who are especially famous, but we also have a number of couples, cross-cultural bilingual couples, in which the man tends to be Italian, the woman tends to be American, and the most famous, with over 5 million followers across the different platforms, are the Pazzinis. The Pazzinis, Alessio, who's Italian, and Jess, who is American. And most of their videos, sorry, their TikToks or their reels, depending on which platform you watch them on, because they're across all the platforms, are about food. Alessio, the fundamentalist, and Jessie making the mistake. Many of them are also about language. They're about pronunciation. Every single couple, not just Jessie and not just the Pazzinis, all these bilingual couples will have the skit in which the woman is making pasta and she says she wants penne rather than penne. And of course there's the sketch in which the male pretends that he's shocked that his wife wants penne and not penne. It's quite a trope. And again, both the Lionfield and the Pazzinis and others will mock the way that English speakers have problems saying bruschetta, or they have problems saying gnocchi, or they have problems saying lasagna. So they're all very, very similar. Shorts, TikToks and Reels, which are very successful. But apart from couples, we also have a nonna Fina, and her granddaughter Maddie in Australia. Very, very similar. Nonna Fina wants to cook the way she cooks. Maddie wants to Australianize, wants to anglicize in some way what she's cooking. But above all, one of the best videos that these two have posted regards Maddie wanting to go to McDonald's, and her grandmother saying, why would I want to go to McDonald's? Let's go home and make a plate of pasta. So again, we have fundamentalism versus liberalism. So in order to get lots of followers, our influencers, our Italian influencers, our Italian content creators use English and not Italian, which is a shame, because some of the best stuff on food is actually Italian. And I'm thinking of content creators stroke influencers like Michele Lettera, a voice actor. And what he does is he superimposes his voice over videos of usually street sellers in Asia making what can only be called abhorrent concoctions and then selling them. And what he will do is he'll put a humorous, he will superimpose a humorous dialogue on top of what the street seller is actually saying, which is usually in one of the many Hindi dialects. But of course, this can only be funny to an Italian audience. Translation is of course possible, but not easy. I'm going to finish here, and if anybody, as I hope, is interested in reading more about this, there's an entire chapter on food and humour online, not just about Italy, but also about Asia in particular, in playing with food, Humour, Language and Disgust by Delia Chiaro and Deborah Aarons, which has just came out on February the 3rd with Routledge. I hope it was okay to blow my own trumpet for a moment. Thank you very much for listening.